Let me start off by telling you the story of a boy. This boy, he wasn't anything like a normal boy. He wasn't a boy like you would expect. He was smart. He was curious. He wanted to make the most of what he had. Can you guess who this boy was? No, it's not me. It's actually, it's Phineas from Phineas and Ferb. And if you haven't watched the show, Phineas and his brother Ferb, they build all sorts of weird and wacky and cool contraptions right in their backyard. Something like an anti-gravity ray, a flying car, and a robot dog. Now, and this is all in their backyard. And I grew up watching Phineas and Ferb, and they inspired me to the point where they actually made it to the list of my top 3 most influential personalities. And then Kanye and Martin Luther King Jr. So I wanted to tread in the footsteps of my icons. I wanted to be something like them. I wanted to be really good at building things. And so I started attending workshops. This is me at a programming boot camp at IIT Bombay when I was 11 years old. Now, the workshops were pretty fun, but I had most of my fun on the internet, browsing tech forums, but mostly reading Wikipedia, but mostly binging YouTube. And it was actually on YouTube that I learned most of what I know today. I learned how to dismantle. I learned how to dismantle a computer. I learned how to build robots. I learned electronics. And soon after the first few years of just exploring on my own, I was actually able to build my own robots. And this is me showing a demonstration of a couple of those. And so they went from all the way from simple remote-controlled bots to complex robots that could actually follow lines and avoid obstacles. And this is actually one of my favorite inventions. And it was this toy that I hacked together. It was this thing called Hexbug Spider. And this is something that was pre-made. But I actually removed the circuitry from that and replaced it with my own custom circuitry. And I even made it so that you could control it via your phone, so via Bluetooth. And I thought that was pretty cool. Later, I started exploring drones. I made all sorts of drones, from big drones equipped for photography to really small, super fast FPV drones. And while my drones won me a bunch of competitions, they actually equipped me for something much larger. They equipped me for a skill set that I could reuse. So soldering, repairing wires. And at this point, I could pretty much get really good with electronics, sort of. And so until now, all of my projects were based on robotics and drones. Excuse me. But I wanted to go harder. I wanted to talk to computers. And this was actually the beginning of my journey of programming. And I wanted to learn how to code so I could write my own software. And so I went on learning the only way I knew how to learn, and that was actually browsing YouTube. And this was through YouTube and various courses online. But I was mainly self-taught for all my programming languages. And so my first side project was, it was addressed to solve a major problem, getting rid of boredom. And during this time, it was smack in the middle of the COVID-19 pandemic, and I was bored staying at home. And in my free time, I like to play video games, particularly Formula 1. And the way I would usually go about playing this game is connecting my keyboard and mouse to the PC, and then controlling the car in the video game that ways. But if you know anything about racing video games, that's a terrible way to control the car. It's fidgety, and you don't really get a sense of the controls. And I wanted something more immersive. So the way you would usually do one of these things is you would get one of these, which is like a steering wheel that you plug into your computer via USB, and you sort of move the steering wheel, and it turns the car inside your game. But one of those was really expensive. I couldn't afford one of those. And so I thought, why can't I just build this myself? And the most powerful tool that I had was actually right in my pocket. It was my iPhone. And if you think about it, your iPhone is equipped with all sorts of sensors, the accelerometer, the gyroscope. And I figured if there was a way that I could repurpose these and actually pipe the data into my game, I could use my phone as a controller for cars in the video game. And so that's what I did. I made an app on the iPhone that took readings of the accelerometer and all the sensors and actually fed it over the network to my computer, which ran another script to detect those signals and interpret them and inject them into my video game. And so, as you can see in the video, whenever I sort of tilted the phone, the car ends up moving as well. And so that was a project I called Real Steer. In the end, I went ahead and published it to the App Store. And it actually got a bunch of users. So that was Real Steer. That was a project that wasn't particularly aimed at solving a problem. But if you consider boredom a problem, maybe. But it was mainly just me taking a shot at having fun. But my next project was something that was much bigger. It's actually something that a lot of us deal with even today. And that's actually how the story of this next project started. So one day, I got a text from my aunt, which went something like, how do I make my passport image under 50 KB? And it doesn't accept more than that. And it turns out that my aunt was actually trying to fight the government website, which only accepted pictures that were less than 50 KB. But, you're not expected to know what a KB is, and so my aunt couldn't figure out how to compress it. And so I knew the answer to that. And I figured I could just tell her, but I wanted to approach things on a more global scale, something that would help other people solve this problem as well. And that was the problem of tech literacy. So I created this website called askada.me. And when you visit the website, you're greeted with this very human interface of a chatbot. And what you can actually do is, if you can read the transcript there, you can actually go ahead and ask it questions. And it's a super intelligent AI designed to help humans with tech. And so you can ask it questions like, what is a zip file and how do I make one? And then Ada responds with, a zip is a compressed file that can contain one or more other files. And to create a zip file, you can use a program like WinZip or 7-zip. So this is like an intelligent sort of chatbot that you can use to know about the internet, to know more about the internet. And Ada will spew out links. She'll take you to pages across the internet, and she'll just be a fun companion. And so I actually onboarded some of my first users on the app, and they were my friends' grandparents. And one of the fun interactions I had was one of them reached out to me saying that his grandmother was actually calling my website. She was actually talking to the website as if it was an actual human. So that was pretty magical. And my website actually told her to install a password manager because she was forgetting her passwords. And his grandmother was actually a pretty good resource for me as well, as she sent me emails with how I could improve the app. And we sort of had this back and forth communication on how we could make the app better. And so that was pretty fun. And she told me how the software manager, the password manager that my website asked her to install was she was actually having a problem with it, and she wanted to go forth and try to make it so that more people wouldn't have this problem. And so that was my website. That was askada.me. So I used my knowledge of programming to solve the problems that mattered to me and the problems that I saw around me. But in fact, when I was building my projects, when I was programming, another so regex, regular expressions. This is something that every software engineer deals with. Regular expressions, or regex for short, are computer science codes that basically allow you to find patterns in text. Think of it like a search bar, the way you push command or control plus F, and it allows you to find something on a document. But for programmers, regular expressions are actually a lot more powerful and flexible. So imagine you have a large document with phone numbers scattered throughout, and you want to find phone numbers that look like that, or that, or that. And notice how it's the same phone number, except it's formatted in 3 different ways. But if you used a normal search box, you wouldn't be able to fit all that. You want something like regex to incorporate all that information into one single string. And so that's why regular expressions, or regex, are so powerful. But there's one problem. The average regular expression looks something like this. And if you can't tell, even for computer programmers, this is extremely difficult to work with. This is extremely difficult to read and write as well. And so I sort of went around for ways to address this problem. And what I came up with was this website called autoregex.xyz. And what it basically did was it took in inputs, and these are natural language inputs. So something like match all Indian phone numbers with or without brackets and +91. And my website actually used artificial intelligence to spit out the regex for that. And so we're sort of abstracting away an entire level of complexity for the programmer and making the programmer's life much easier. And while I developed autoregex for myself, I also thought it might be helpful to other people online. And so I polished the website and I pushed it online. And something I never expected to happen happened. My website actually blew up. In just a few months, it had 100,000 users, which is like 1 lakh, and then 200,000 users. And that was really exciting for me. And so that was autoregex. So over the years, I've spent thousands of hours coding, designing, iterating, trying to bring my visions to life. So that's me. And over time, I've developed something called a builder mindset. Yeah, so the builder mindset. And what is the builder mindset? Well, a builder is any person who spends the time and effort to bring something valuable to the world. A builder is a person that finds optimism in waves of nihilism and pessimism. A builder is a craftsman, a person who deeply cares about what they do, a person who deeply cares about their art. And every day, I try my best to take on this pursuit of becoming the craftsman, of becoming the builder. So, for me, the thing I care about the most is writing code and pushing out applications. But for you, it might be something entirely different. It might be writing blogs on the internet, or writing poetry, or anything really. Or writing, or making CGI films, which is actually another thing that I'm really passionate about. But when you take on something, you have to remember to be ambitious, and you have to give it your all. Be dreamers. Be builders. Thank you.